Hello everyone, my name is Derek Smallin, and our team member consists of, on my left is Ross Lemmel and Matt Wickenweeder. On my right, Juan Sanchez and Shaquille Sharifin. We had the great opportunity to working with Callaway Golf Company. It's a worldwide golf organization, and they came to us with the task of help increasing their overall efficiency within their IT department, as well as working with collaboration within actual IT teams within their organization. We were able to interview and put together questions to help interview their 5 department heads, which we were able to fabricate and create a survey to give out to the employees, which there was a total of 48 respondents to the actual survey. We surveyed 6 total teams, with 5 of the teams being the internal IT teams within Callaway, 1 international team which consisted of the external team that works IT as well, but not within the Callaway headquarters. The survey consisted of 38 total questions, with 26 of the questions being a weighted question, meaning they were scaled metric 1 through 5, 1 being strongly disagree, 2 disagree, 3 comment neither disagree or agree, and the higher weights of 4 being agree, and the last weight of the highest weight of being strongly agree. And there are also, with the questions, 12 free response questions that were given to employees for just additional comments and open suggestions for within the survey, split by the sections as well. And the survey was split into, that we created was split into 6 total sections. 1, the first section being prioritization within the IT department. 2 being employee self-value, leadership and relationship, individual and team productivity, communication and honesty, and last being customer and external section to give us an outside perspective on how the internal teams work with the external teams. I will now pass over the clicker to Juan Sanchez, who will be going over the first 2 segments of our survey, starting with prioritization.
So the first segment that we decided to analyze was prioritization due to its significant impact on organizational collaboration. So prioritization is the evaluation of a group of tasks and ranking them in order of importance. We can influence prioritization through collaborative leadership. Collaborative leadership is the ability to engage employees outside one's formal control and inspire them to work towards a common goal, regardless of any differences that the employees might have. So a well-influenced team will tend to make decisions inclined towards a company's long-term goal, whereas whereas a team that is poorly influenced lacks the engagement needed towards important tasks, which causes delays and other forms of discrepancies. So it's important to prioritize important tasks, and this will boost collaboration in an organization. So our survey data suggests that Callaway Golf employees in the IT department tend to juggle between tasks, and that better software is needed to improve prioritization. So our second segment that we decided to analyze is self-value due to its significant impact on the culture of the company, and which will inevitably impact the collaboration. So self-value is an employee's self-beliefs or self-assessment. So an employee with positive self-value tends to have better personal adjustment, whereas an employee with negative self-value tends to have poor personal adjustment, and this can create conflicts. So we can influence self-value through role perception. Role perception is the extent in which an employee accurately understands his or her task. So it's important for a manager to communicate with their employees in regards to their task in the company. If an employee feels like he or she understands his or her task, they will understand the contribution that they bring to the company, and this will boost self-value. So our survey data suggests that employees in the IT department feel valued among their peers, and that however, the company could do a better job at pushing professional development. I am now going to hand it over to Shaq, who will cover segments 3 and 4.
All right, thank you, Juan. Business success has a direct correlation with their leaders and how they communicate to their employees that work under them. The reason why we chose this survey to be in our section is because leaders act as a role model to their employees and influence them, motivating them in the workplace. Many modern organizations are willing to spend high costs in order to increase collaboration, from offering employee incentives to flexible work environments. However, many organizations are overlooking one of the most crucial strategies there is. That is employee engagement. Employee engagement is not only low cost, high impact, it is one of the easiest strategies to execute. When a manager acknowledges an employee, they have a sense of accomplishment, resulting in them feeling valued in the workplace. So for this section of our survey, we constructed the questions regarding employee engagement and the leaders and how they communicate with their employees. And after analyzing the results, we broke up each category and took the weighted average. We found that leadership had the lowest rated average at a 3.28. And then so we took it even further and went into just the leadership category and broke up each question and found that employee recognition was the lowest weighted score at a 3.04. However, employee recognition is not the only strategy used in order to increase collaboration, which brings us on to the next section, individual and team productivity. Individual and team productivity is key for business success. There are many factors that go into productivity, from individual behaviors, their skills, their motivations, etc. However, according to the author Stephen L. McShane, author of Organizational Behavior, there are two important drivers that every organization consider. The first one, role perception. Whether you're working solo on a project or on a team, each individual should understand their role and what they contribute to the bigger picture of the company. The second one is having the right systems and processes in order for business to be done effectively and efficiently. Using these two drivers, we conducted our survey regarding role perception and then the systems. And then this way we can figure out whether or not the lack of productivity is falling on the individuals themselves or on the systems. Looking at the data for individual and team productivity, it had an average weighted score at 3.81, which was actually the second highest weighted average in the entire survey. However, the one category in which they were lacking is systems and processes, being at a 3.14. With that, I will hand it over to Ross, who will be talking about communication and honesty.
Thank you, Shaq. The fifth section of our survey is communication and honesty. Communication and honesty was such an important measure for our survey because it essentially facilitates collaboration. You can't be one without the other. Communication that's effective includes honest dialogue regarding roles, tasks, other factors that that get encountered every day. Also, there needs to be mutual expectations. Everyone needs to be on the same page regarding these same factors. And also, in an environment where people can express their feelings or new ideas openly is very helpful for communication that fosters collaboration. The performance results for this survey indicates that Callaway feels that they're able to communicate honestly between teams and within teams, and they also feel that they are able to be open and express new ideas. That also had the highest weighted average for our survey section at a 3.95. And we also looked at what the most common way to communicate was across Callaway's IT department. And we found that 49% of people prefer email. And also the metric on this question, we let people respond with multiple answers so we could see what actually is communicated with most common. We didn't just restrict everyone to one answer. And on the other hand, we asked what the most effective way they felt they could communicate. And We were surprised when we saw that almost 71% felt face-to-face was the most effective way to communicate. This polarization between what Callaway feels is the most effective versus what they use is something they could possibly improve on for communication, thus improving their collaboration. Our next section, our final section, was the customers and external section. This section was so important to measure because how Callaway feels they are impacting their external environment is very indicative of how they are actually collaborating together. This section we looked at how frequently they receive positive feedback from their external environment, be it customers or clients. Also how their meetings are focused, whether they're focused on productivity or just solving issues. And also if they have to multitask just to work with their external environment. And then to round it out, we just asked if they believe they make a positive impact within Callaway's IT department for their external customers. There was some limitations to this section of our survey. The first being most employees within Callaway's IT department don't deal directly with external customers and clients. They deal with other teams in Callaway's IT department. However, team number 1, the business analyst team, is an externally facing team within Callaway's IT department. So we decided to just break down the data for team 1 for this section. Another limitation was question 1 from our surveys on this section was on a different scale than the rest, so it's not included in the next slide's weighted average for team 1 section. So moving on to that, the business analysis team, team number 1, the externally facing team in Callaway's IT department, had a fairly high score of 3.86 for this survey section. They felt like they really had a solid and positive impact on Callaway's external clients and customers. That was the highest score for this section. However, they could improve on the topics of their meetings and maybe focusing on productivity rather than solving past issues. And that's just what our survey suggested. And with that, I will be passing on to Matt for recommendations.
Thank you, Ross. So based on the data analysis that we came up on our survey with the questions and the free response answers, we came up with 4 recommendations. The first one being the ticketing system, the second one being prioritization software, the third one being communication, and the fourth one being acknowledgement. So a ticketing system, we pulled question 25 out of the data because it was interesting, and it says most of the systems and processes here support us getting our work done effectively. And based on the results we got from the actual question, we found that only about 50% of the employees believe that the processes and stuff that's in place right now are helping them efficiently and effectively get their work done. So with that being said, we got a free response answer or multiple free response answers that say that the ticketing system's poor. It's hard to track who's working on what. And with that being said, from the results that we got here, we recommend that a new ticketing system be put in place to help with more effective, more efficient outputs on a daily basis. Secondly, it was the software, the prioritization software. Question 8 said the way they prioritize and organize all the work in the team is as efficient as possible. That was about 55% of the employees agreed that on a daily basis that their work is organized and their team as efficient as possible. So that came down as a recommendation as well. And based on the free response questions, we found that people said that the Microsoft program that they're using right now is currently holding them back. They're able to prioritize work within a project, but it's preventing them from prioritizing work from overall projects. So they may put one project that has a very high priority below one that doesn't have such a high priority, and it's kind of holding them back from getting work done effectively and collaborating well on that. And then thirdly is a communication. So as Ross mentioned earlier, the most effective way that we found was face-to-face, that people believe that's the way they should be communicating or get the most work done. In accordance with that, the most common way they use is email, and we found within the responses that the reason for that being is it's easier for employees to communicate within each other about certain tickets that are being worked on, what they're working on, and stuff like that. But the reason we bring this up based on the the accordance with the questions. The reason we bring it up is because we recommend, when applicable, that employees engage in more face-to-face conversation. And then there are also factors where I know Callaway travels a lot, so on a day-to-day basis, some people can't meet face-to-face, but when it's able to be met face-to-face on a project, if they could meet face-to-face. And then finally, acknowledgement. So this question was pretty interesting, and we asked, how frequently do you receive recognition from your manager? And we found that 43% on a weekly basis, 27% rarely, 16% didn't have a comment on it, 9% say they didn't, and then 4% on a daily basis. So the reason we brought up this as a recommendation is because employees want to feel like the job they're doing for the company holds value on a daily basis. They want to feel motivated to go to work and do their task on a daily basis. And this was the lowest score we found as a 3.04 for this question. And we just believe that more acknowledgement will help people be more involved within their work and want to feel that they're able to develop their career on a daily basis. And with that being said, I'm going to pass it back to Derek.
And just to conclude on this presentation, I wanted to thank everyone in the stands, or everyone in the audience, for coming out today, faculty, sponsors, and students at Ashley. And a special thank you to our advisor, Janet, for being with us through the semester, as well as our sponsors, Psycorp Body and Alan Schneider, and all of Callaway for allowing us inside their organization and allow us to work directly with their IT department. And now I wanted to open up for Q&A.
Let me start up here in the gallery. Questions from up here. It's after lunch. All right, Cy, Alan, questions, comments?
I'll say just more as comments. This, as I mentioned, is the first time, and I think it was a good experience for us to get someone from the academics and do and analyze and view from a different point of view. So I think it helped me personally, since it's whatever that it is all for my organization, to see what people are thinking. And I mean, this is the first time we did, and it really helped me to make this as a baseline for me going forward and make the necessary changes to see the improvements and get to the better state. So I'll say that's how it really helped me, and I like the project. Again, that was my project though. I came up with this, but it really showed me some of the insight which I never had before this. So I liked it. It's a good one. Yeah, it's a good results, and I think I liked some of the. When I saw some of the results, I felt it's like, wow, that's what they're thinking. So that's good to know. So yeah.
Alan, any questions, comments?
Well, just a comment. I probably have a couple questions. So, I mean, one thing that I thought was interesting, we figured this out early with the guys talking through, the topic of collaboration is, it's not easy to figure out what's a relevant measurement. So, I think I probably challenged them in the beginning, but it makes sense now trying to figure out, employee engagement's a more common measurement within organizations and whatever, and I think that gave us a good feedback to kind of take what are some more standard approaches to how employees are engaging and working together and taking them into collaboration, because I know I challenged them in the beginning to try and figure out, do the questions equal the problem statement, and at some point does our own problem statement even related to our goal of what we're trying to do? Because I said part of this is we threw a problem statement and what we're trying to fix. I hope the two are related, and I think taking it back a layer, it makes more sense now as we get through, because I know a few times I told them, are you sure? What else can we do? And asked them to really kind of help make the jumps between being a better service organization, is collaboration the right measurement, and how to measure. So I was really interested to see. So I think that was good. I guess a question for the team, within the recommendations, did you guys come up with anything as far as specific action items or tasks that would lead towards achieving some of the recommendations?
Yeah, for a lot of them, especially for either the acknowledgement or like kind of weekly, just more meetings every week, because like we were talking about, some of them were no meetings at all or rarely. So just more employee meetings, maybe not just one-on-one or just as a team as a whole, just as a get-together real quick, either once or twice a week.
Mhm.
And also the acknowledgement, just going by maybe once every day or once every couple of days, just going by, make sure everyone's doing okay, checking on them and just telling them you're doing a good job, or just kind of updating in general what's going on.
Professor Baronio, questions, comments?
Yeah, I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed working with this team, and I think they were very, as a team, worked very closely together and supported one another throughout the whole thing. I know that the challenge of exactly what Alan described was their challenge as well. How do we narrow the scope of what we're looking at? How do we define it? You know, is this really, because their objective is increasing productivity and efficiency, right? The output, and is collaboration the right measure? And I don't know if there's anything else, you know, you all want to say about that, or some of the, you know, we talked about some of the limitations about getting at that big kind of question, and if there's anything else you all want to add about how you feel it came out, or more things that you wish you had more time or could have done differently, or...
Yeah, just for the overall survey, like we said, we had 48 respondents, and I was out of the 67 total people that we sent it out to. So with the increase on maybe the amount of people doing the survey, it would be better to give to data. Obviously, we can't do this whole 100% of the people are going to respond to the survey itself, but I thought we had a good measurement for how many people responded, but just getting a more exact metric, more exact frame of what we're going on, so maybe more, just having more employees answer the survey to be better objective.
Yeah, and also moving forward, we can see like what some of the mistakes we have or some of the limitations to our data that we experience after getting the results from the first survey. There's definitely some changes we can make, like not all of our scale questions are completely consistent. Like we have a few that are on a different scale. So like our average weighted scores could be skewed because of that. So moving forward, we could, I guess, clean it up, and now that we know what skewed our data, we could make those adjustments, and it would be a little more solid going forward. You could pay more attention to those weighted averages for the sections rather than, you know, each question and how that impacts their output.
Please.
In terms of your recommendations, the survey that you've created, is it going to become an annual survey, or is it a one-time distributed survey just to find out information that is as it is right now?
We're going to try to, or at least try to do it every single year, or at least bi-yearly, that's 6 months, just so you can, because we have an overall measurement, like we didn't have the exact numbers up there, but you can relate each 6 months, every year, just what you can improve on, which section's going up, which section's changing. So it would be a yearly basis, not just a one-time deal.
I don't know the age breakdown of the IT department at Callaway, but I'm wondering if you looked into any of that. I would imagine millennials would be interested in ways that other generations.
Yeah, we were actually discussing one of the departments, the 10-year average was like 20 to 30 years, while one department that scored a high on a lot of sections, their average was 2 to 5 year. So you could tell, like, going at the data, like somewhere like communication, honesty, and acknowledgement, like a lot higher with the younger crowd going in, while a couple of sections had. So there's a big age discrepancy between a couple of the departments as a whole.
Yeah, we looked at like each team within IT. So certain teams they had less experience than others, and those teams, once we met with Cy to discuss our survey results, we saw that he's like, well, yeah, this team scored really well, but they are all young. So that could have skewed our data, and going forward, we have that in our limitations on our research papers. So.
All right, well, you guys look great, and sounds like Cy's happy and Janet's happy, so I would declare victory for the day. Thank you.